talk about managing stress. But let me tell you the whole fundamental of management. May I please request a few people to switch on the cameras? It'll be fun interacting. Thank you, Nevita. Thank you very much. Can few more follow this? Thank you, Ruby. Thank you very much. Okay, so managing stress and management is a great thing, but let's understand whether it is time management or stress management or relationship management, emotional management. These are all myths. Let me burst the myth today. We cannot manage stress. We cannot manage um, time. Neither can we manage emotions. There is one individual whom we can manage, or there is one entity whom we need to manage in order to manage the rest of our parameters, and that entity is you. Everything about management is about self management. It's about taking charge of our lives and dealing with whatever life throws at us with a sense of confidence, with a sense of, with a proactive sense, right? So, I am going to talk about something today which is called as resilience, right? And that's one quality, that's one, I would say, personality trait that actually reduces the impact of stress, right? Because, let's understand this, let's get it right that we cannot change the situations or the circumstances outside us, right? If something has to happen in our jobs, in our businesses, in our relations, in our day to day lives, it has to happen. We cannot change that. What we can work upon is our relationships or our reactions to that. Okay? Before I start off, let me tell you, let's make it more interactive, right? If I ask you, what is stress according to you? Or when do you feel stressed? What would be your responses? Can you recognize those areas of your life which you find as stressful or instances that you find stressful? Let's make it interactive, as I said. Okay, are you here only for a certificate or are you here actually to learn? Is my next question. Okay, when our thoughts are not according to us. Correct. Mr. Grihawardhan says, when the thoughts are not in our control, I feel stressed, which is so natural because your thoughts are taking you somewhere and you're believing it to be true and your body is responding accordingly. Thank you very much. You don't want to speak out? Please use the chat box. When the work has not been completed in time, it becomes very stressful. Yes, absolutely. Incomplete jobs, again, give us a lot of stress. What else? Come on. Let's interact. Let's think. Because the more you would think, the more you are capacitating yourself of dealing with your own personal stressors, right? The more you respond, the more I will be able to take up the issues that bother you the most. So please don't be here very passive and just laid back. Be interactive, be active. Yes, what is stressful for you? Uncontrollable thoughts, incomplete jobs. What else? Yes, when you miss a bus or a train and you do not know what's the alternative, that is stressful. Fear of future. Yes, Harika, uncertainty of future makes us feel very scared about it. Work pressure is also stressful. Correct. So see, most of you have, reported things, circumstances, and events, right? Normally they are stressors. And what is a stressor? Anything that demands, anything that is a challenge, anything that demands scoping up, anything that wants us to get out of our comfort zone, our routines, our easy way of doing things, that is considered to be a stress. But please get it right today. This is not stress. They are events, they are triggers, or they are stressors. Correct? And yes, you're right. We assume situations outside us to be as stress. Correct? So that is one school of thought, that situations outside us is when they are threatening, right? When they are challenging, we assume them to be as stress. Correct. Now, my next question to all of you, when you experience stress, how does your body respond to that? Yes, Moshimi also feels pressure, financial insecurity. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all your participation and your responses. That keeps on telling me also, because the cameras are not on. So that gives me the feedback also that you're listening. Correct. So you see pressure, insecurity, uncertainty, demand, challenge, right? These are all events. Okay, my next question. How does your body respond when you're under stress? Like anxiety, yes. You invite diseases, yes. The culmination of stress is disease, no doubt about that. Correct? What else? Headache, yes. A throbbing pain in the head, some pressure here in this area or here is what we experience. Correct? Tell me more. Do you listen to your bodies? Do you know how does your body respond under such difficult situations? Get in touch with your bodies and tell me. I would feel palpitation in my chest, heartbeat goes up, unable to move to the next work. Yes, stress causes that paralysis kind of a situation. You are unable to think and you're unable to respond to your environment in an active manner. Thank you very much. Now, again, these are bodily responses to stress. Isn't it? Body is preparing itself to deal with the challenge or the demand that has come in our lives. Okay. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. Do you know these responses are adaptive responses? I mean, this is the way body prepares itself to deal with the stressor. Say, for example, a dog suddenly started chasing you and started it's charging at you. Okay. Now, the body will get into the fight or flight mode. Correct? If you feel you're powerful, you're going to fight back. And when you feel disempowered, you're going to run. Okay? Now tell me, when you run or you jog normally, or when you run, when there is a threat or a danger chasing you, when do you run faster? Situation A, normal jogging or sprinting, running as exercise, or when something is threatening that is chasing you, when do you run faster? B, isn't it? See, this kind of a change that is happening, called as arousal, also called as fight or flight response, please understand it is adaptive. Okay, it is preparing the body to deal with the challenge and deal with the real life situation that is challenging us. These spurts of chemicals called cortisols, they are helpful only when they are released for a smaller period of time, isn't it? See, so the dog started charging at you, chasing you, you ran, you found a place, you parked yourself there and the dog ran away. So now your body is going to come back to normal. You will breathe normally, your heart rate will settle down, and what we call it as a homeostasis will be reinstated. Okay. Now, let me tell you the real problem of our life. Our problems are no more like dogs chasing us and, having some natural calamities and threats, natural threats. No. The problem is our thoughts are causing us a lot of imaginary stress. Again, if I go back to the chat box, a lot of you have said insecurity about the future, fear of future, isn't it? Now, if you come to think of it, you do not know how the future is going to be like, but we are assuming that future is going to pose us a lot of financial challenges, or future is going to be unstable. Well, correct. And there's a constant thought at the back of the mind, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if my children are not going to do well? See, look at the way the inflation is going up. Whatever I'm not able to meet the expenses, what if I lose my job? These are the questions that are kind of posing a constant threat to our well-being. And another very important thing is that our mind or our body does not know the difference between real and imagined. Your body will respond exactly in the same manner to a perceived imaginary threat as it responds to a real threat. Let me tell you something very interesting. There were studies that were done in which there were few people who were made to learn piano. Okay. Then they were split into two groups, and there was a group who would play piano with their fingers every day. And there's another group of people who would be playing piano in their heads every day for as long as the group A is playing pianos in reality. And then week later, their performances were compared. And you will be surprised to hear that whether it was a real practice group, real time practice group, or it was the in vitro, somebody who was imagining practicing and was actually practicing in their heads, their performance was at par. That's the power of thought. All right. And how we are abusing or misusing our thinking, always and most of the times thinking about unhappy things, uncertain things, threatening stuff. We are all creating these stories in our heads. By the way, neither you have seen the future nor do I know the future. We are assuming that it's going to be very challenging. It's going to be very demanding. I wonder, why can't we think that it's going to be a great place to be in? That the future is going to be very promising? What stops us from thinking like that? Isn't it? सोचना ही तो है, अच्छा सोच लेते हैं ना? Isn't it? Must we be standing on the cliff always in this threat that one more move and I'll be down? Correct? So, the bodily changes that happen in response to stress are actually adaptive in the shorter run because they give body the energy that is required to deal with that stress. Correct? But the sustained presence of these cortisols, this adrenaline, and all those excitatory neurotransmitter is extremely toxic for our body. Okay? Yes. Have you heard of something called as lifestyle diseases, anyone? Why don't you switch on your cameras, guys? It will be so good to interact on a topic which actually concerns all of us. Right? And I've been studying stress for so many years now. I could help you in so many ways, knowing more about it and dealing with it. Why don't you just switch on your cameras and let me see your faces? It's not very interesting. It's not very exciting to, talk to a wall. Yes. What are lifestyle diseases? ऐसे मुझे डिमोटिवेट मत करो. Smoking causes lifestyle diseases. Procrastination is not a disease, Gravardhan. No, it's a habit. Heart problems are lifestyle diseases. Diabetes is a heart lifestyle disease. Cancer, BP, hypertension, right? These are all lifestyle diseases. And so many times we hear each other talk like, earlier people never had these kind of things. The earlier generation was a healthier generation, isn't it? Because the stressors were fewer, right? They were physically active people. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Obesity. Yes, Vinita. Obesity is also a lifestyle disease. All right. Okay. So now, please understand that the presence of these toxins for a very long period of our time, for a very long period of time, disrupts the homeostasis in our body. All right. When I say it is disrupting the homeostasis, now please understand our machine, heart, it's a machine. Okay. It is created to beat 72 beats per minute. And it is supposed to be secreting or pumping blood at the rate of 80 by 120. But when we are stressed, the heart is overworking, right? The machine is overworking. And you all know a machine that overworks will burn out so easily. So the thoughts here, especially the negative thoughts, the automatic thoughts, the uncontrollable thoughts, give the command to the body as if the threat is real, whereas the threat is imagined. We are just assuming that life is going to be difficult in the future. We are assuming that my financial condition is not going to improve in future. Whereas you all know it, what you were earning, what you were doing 5 years ago, you're much, much better off today. Right? So lifestyle diseases equal to presence of these toxins or overworking body, which is generating certain chemicals, and those chemicals are not good for our bodies, and hence lifestyle diseases are a body's reaction to overthinking, um, stressful fight or flight response, right? Staying in that survival mode for a very long period of time, and hence medication. Okay, so if we learn to deal with the thoughts here, and if we learn how to deal with the arousal that we experience because of the emotions, we would do so much better when it comes to our health. Right? So, first thing we talked about, we thought that the circumstances outside us is stress. No, it is not. They are just situations. Okay, those situations could become your triggers because you do not know how to deal with that. Okay, and second thing we talked about is our reactions to those situations, which are most of the times bodily arousal, right? Body's reaction. Let me tell you, if you switch on your cameras, I will be able to give you better tools to deal with the stress. It's a deal. You switch on your cameras and I give you better tools and very effective tools. And you keep your cameras shut, and I will also keep some information with myself. So if you want to hear more about dealing with stress, please switch on your cameras. I would really appreciate few people who can switch on your cameras if your circumstances are conducive to that. And you're all teachers. Thank you, Grevardhan. You know, how does it feel when you have to deal with students who are not switching on their cameras? I expect more maturity from all of you at this age. Thank you. All right. Now, so the third perspective, which actually is going to explain you what really causes stress, is, like we say, that beauty lies in the eyes of beholder, stress lies in the mind of the beholder. All right. What do I mean by that? I mean that any situation that we encounter is a situation, right? It's just an event. Now that event could be a wedding in your family, that event could be a wedding in your neighborhood, that event could be a lot of work that has to be completed in a very limited stipulated period of time, right? It could be some untoward event that happens, sickness, uh, accident. So it is just an event. Whenever an event happens in our life, even it could be ringing of the doorbell, right? So when this event happens, the first thing that we do is called as primary appraisal. We check whether this event is positive, negative, or neutral. A lot has happened in Himachal this year. Lot of disruption has happened, right? Landslides happened, cloud bursts happened, isn't it? For the people who have lost their lives, livelihoods, and residential commercial places, it is a negative event, very challenging event. For people like us who are sitting far away, yes, we have a lot of sympathy for them, right? And yes, it sometimes poses a threat, like it can happen to us also, but the impact is not so much, isn't it? For many people who are casual, it could even be just another day in their lives. So it's not the event per se which is demanding or which is positive or negative, right? How much or what kind of impact that event has on us will make it positive or negative event. Say there's a wedding in the family, right? Where you are a guest. It's a destination wedding where you are a guest, right? And you're really excited about it. You're going to get some good clothes made, you're going to apply for a chutti, right? And there you go, had a great time there. So that event is positive. Now, let's suppose the same wedding and you're invited for that wedding and you must go for that wedding, but you do not have enough money to get the kind of clothes to get stitched, like the kind of opulence that you will see in that wedding. You don't feel up to it financially. Now, the same wedding becomes a challenge for you, isn't it? It becomes a negative event for you. So, whenever an event happens, the first thing we do is we actually evaluate that event. We judge that event and determine whether that is positive, neutral, or negative. Let's suppose my neighbor's son is going to write an exam, which is a very crucial exam. For the neighbors, it is something demanding and challenging, but for me, it's neutral. It's not going to impact me. Okay. So the first understanding that I want all of you to take home from this conversation is that the events or the circumstances can never be positive or negative. It's our judgment or appraisal of that event which makes it positive or negative or neutral. First thing. Once an event is judged or appraised as something positive or it is appraised as neutral, it will never cause us stress, right? It doesn't affect us, or we are really looking forward to that event. A holiday that you're very well planned, a visit to a particular place which is very well planned. However, anything that seems like challenging or demanding, right? That is a negative event. And once an event is appraised as negative, the next step is to do a reality check. Like, do I have the resources to deal with that event? For example, somebody did not study the whole year and now the exam is right around the corner. And or somebody said, yeah, when I have to meet a deadline, it's very stressful. So you knew that within a week, 10 days, you have to submit something, but somehow you didn't feel like doing it. And now it's just 2 days to go or 1 day to go. It's very stressful, right? What we do next is we tap our resources. Is there something available on the internet which I can take some lead from? Can I take help from a friend? Can I pay someone a little money and then ask him or her, like, can I delegate this task to somebody? Isn't it? Now, if the answer to any of these questions is yes, like I can take someone's help, or I can delegate this task to someone, or I can use technology as a resource to quickly finish this task is no more stressful. Okay? So it's not the event, my dear friends, which causes stress. It's our incapacity to cope up with that event which causes stress. Right? There is a demand and there is a capacity to cope. If both are equal or your coping capacity is higher, no stress. If your coping capacity is lower than the demand, certainly is going to cause you stress. Therefore, stress lies in the eyes of the beholder. We keep on controlling the circumstances out of us, and let me tell you, they're beyond control. What we need to work upon actually is our resources, our capacity to deal with them. And another very important thing to understand here is that it's the availability of social support, availability of people who understand you, who would stand by you during the time of your need. They act as a buffer against stress. So what I'm trying to tell you is invest in people, build stronger connections, seek support when it is required. Don't try to be the Hercules or Sheshnag who is wanting to do all by itself. You will get tired. Often we hear of glass half full and glass half empty. It's never about full and empty. It's about for how long do you want to hold that glass. If you got to hold that glass for an hour and a half, trust me, your arm will ache. There will be no sensation, right? So the only way to put the glass down is to have something on which you can put the glass down, isn't it? So please invest in people and use things. हम उल्टा कर रहे हैं. We're doing the opposite. We are using people and investing in things or caring more for things. Hence a lot of stress. Right? The more you build up your resources, especially people resources, imagine a supportive spouse, imagine an understanding neighbor, imagine a loving family who can be a substitute for you, who can play a proxy for you in your absence while you're away for work or while you're committed to some other things. Imagine having a lot of people working for you, your maids, your house helps, your staff. How much your burden can they actually take on their shoulders, hence relieving you of that pressure of, oh my God, I have to do everything on my own. This is also to be done. Even this is yet to be done. Start investing in people. Spouses, family members, relatives. Okay, I'm not too sure about that, to be very honest. Neighbors, friends, people working under you, your house helps, your staff, your subordinates, your colleagues. They are the ones who are going to share your day to day burdens and make your life a little more comfortable than how you feel it to be. Any questions so far? Anybody? Any observation? Any insight? Anything that you want to say? कुछ नहीं कहना किसी को? Any instance that you want to quote where somebody who stood by you made your life easier? Aman ma'am, is this group a not very participating group? Okay.
So members, you're requested to kindly reply.
Yeah, this is the least I can expect being a resource person. Thank you for agreeing. Any observation, anything that you want to share, that how somebody made your life easier? How many of you have raised your children in a joint family where you stayed with your maybe in-laws or your parents or somebody very close was there to raise your children while they were growing up? Can I have some show of hands, please? Some people, will you raise your hand? How many of you have raised your children with your parents? Dr. Abdul has raised his hand. Renisha. Okay. Manik Goyal. And I'm sure most of you were more relieved, isn't it? You were more at rest and you were more secure vis-a-vis your children were about your children, vis-a-vis your colleagues whose children have been raised by probably nannies or they have been raised in child cares, right? Things were much easier for you. Right? So that is why I'm saying we really underestimate the capacity or the impact that presence of others have in our lives. Thank you, Manik ji, for switching on your camera. I really appreciate that. Okay. So first things first, invest in people, right? Ever since we have become a society which is obsessed with consumerism, our life has become more difficult, right? The more sustainable we become in our relationship and more minimalist we become in our approach to life, stress will automatically come down. So one major reason for stress is our incapacity to understand the potential of the support that other people render to us, right? The second reason for our stress majorly is comparisons. Manik sir, which car do you drive?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
I said,
which car?
Which car do you drive?
Alto K10.
Alto.
A10.
A10, right? So,
Right.
And I drive an i10.
Right.
My Parosi has recently bought a Skoda. So I was very happy with my i10 till the time I suddenly saw a new sparkly black Skoda parked outside my padosi's house. And suddenly, my i10 became a very small car. Not only did my i10 become a small car, I started feeling small and inefficient and, not doing so well financially, so on and so forth. And for me, nothing has changed in life. It's just that my parosi has bought a new car, but suddenly, my appraisal of me and my financial status in my eyes, it reduced. And that causes stress. Right. What I need everyone to understand is no matter how big or small the car is, Indian roads are going to remain the same. Right? If you want to go to Shimla, you all have to go through the same 6 feet sunk Himalayan Express itself. Same potholes, right? Same issues. Everything is going to remain the same. And no matter how big or small the car is, it will have 4 tires. The AC will be on. It can accommodate, weigh 5, 6 people. Okay. So I do not know how many of you understand Hindi. My दादाजी used to say कि दूसरों के पक्के मकान देख के ना अपने कच्चे मकान नहीं तोड़ा करते. And this is what we are doing. Just because someone else has more, right? I feel small and I feel stressed about that small thing. Now, what is an antidote to this? An antidote to this is what is called as downward social comparison. Stop looking at Adanis and Ambanis. लेके कोई कुछ नहीं जा रहा यहाँ से. Okay, they may have more comfortable lives, but let me tell you, their stresses are much bigger than us. We may lose in hundreds and thousands or maximum lakhs. When they lose in multi crores. Their umpires come down like pack of cards. There's a domino effect. And how much of wealth get wiped off, you and I can't even imagine those figures. On the other hand, what is downward social comparison? Whenever you feel shaky in your life, whenever you feel life is not good enough, just think about people who have more difficulties than you. Right? Whenever I feel my i10 is small or Manik sir feels that his Alto is small, right? Look at that rickshaw wala who not only pulls the rickshaw manually, but he makes so many people sit on that rickshaw, and that's his, livelihood. Whenever we feel I'm not able to eat in 5 stars, please remember there are people who do not even get 2 square meals a day. My house in Chandigarh is very close to one of the premier hospitals in India, PGI, if you have heard of that hospital. The day I feel that my life is very difficult, I do nothing. PGI is just a stone's throw. I can walk to PGI. So I just, when I'm going to office, I go via PGI. When I see the suffering there, when I see patients, their families, right? Poor people do not even have the financial resources to combat that disease. The bread earner lying on a stretcher, right? I feel I really do not have anything to complain about. God has been very, very kind to us. Right? So stress is basically caused by constant comparisons with people who are doing better than us. Manik sir, you want to say something?
Traveling in public vehicles also will help. You see how public travels, and I think most ofly I don't travel by my Alto. I travel by public vehicle.
That's
That also
fantastic.
helps. And I think we all belong to a community of ACD, and universal human values has a great effect on that. They tell that how we do the comparison and how we waste the resources also.
Absolutely, sir. That
And
is
whatever resources we are using that are made for our kids. So kids
totally.
will suffer more if we use the resources more. And it says ki we have borrowed the earth from our kids, so we need to save that also.
Very true, sir. Very, very powerful. We need to see we are trustees here, trustees of the resources which belong to our children, right? And the way we are abusing and consuming these resources, I wonder what is it that we are going to leave for them, right? And then we are complaining of stress and all that. So let's just think about, there's a very beautiful Japanese concept of minimalism, right? Whenever you want to buy something, think about it. Do I really need it or I want it? There is a difference between need and want and greed. Most of the stuff we are accumulating is our wants, and wants can never ever be satisfied. All wishes can never ever be fulfilled. This is all psychological. Needs are something that we need to fulfill for our survival and for a qualitative life, right? So if we actually want to have a happy, satisfied in life, and a life which we feel is well lived, we must know where to draw and how to draw a line, that this bit is enough for me, right? And there's a saying that, when God gives you more, right, don't just raise your standard of living, raise your standard of giving, right? So one of the very beautiful antidotes to stress is from moving from egocentrism to world centricism, right? Rather than accumulating and hoarding things just for you, learning to letting go and sharing what you have with other people is very, very important. I have a very simple rule in life. Trust me, I have around 2 to 3 pairs of good, smart, for fancy wears. One is black, one is beige, and one is brown. It goes with all my clothes, right? I wear saris more than suits because sari is sustainable fashion, and lot of saris are hand me down from my mother-in-law and my mother. Like lot of saris that I wear are 40, 50 years old, and I'm very proud of wearing them. It's sustainable fashion. So I have a very simple rule. If I buy 2 or 3 new clothes, I partake the old ones. We have maids, we have house helps, right? We have staff in the office also. So that when I open my wardrobe, there are just about 7, 8 suits or pants to select from, right? It reduces decision fatigue as well. Okay, so minimalism means, having just enough that is for our requirement. Yeah, greed is insatiable. The nature has something for everybody's needs, but it cannot fulfill even a single person's greed. And we have seen it. History is a witness to what happened when Sikandar wanted to, master the whole universe, or when Samrat Ashok wanted to expand his boundaries and I do not know, have reign over the major parts of the world. See what happened. See what happens when Putin, the Russian prime minister, and the Czechoslovakian prime minister, they are at loggerheads for the greed of oil, probably. Isn't it? So, from need to greed. And very important that from very young age, we must inculcate these values in the citizens of tomorrow, our children and our students. We must have conversations around, financial intelligence, financial, I would say, management. That its money is not just about spending; it's about investing too. And if it is about spending, it is spending on things which are our requirements, rather than haphazardly throwing away things just because we have credit cards, just because we have plastic money, we have debit card, and we actually really do not feel the money transacting. Isn't it? Again, I have a very simple rule when I do online shopping. We all do that. It's very convenient. Whatever things I need, I feel I need, I will put them in the cart and then I'll sleep over it. Isn't it? Because most of the times, impulsively, we tend to overshop and overbuy things. So I'll put it in the cart and I'll sleep over it and I'll open the cart 2 or 3 days later. And then I'll recheck. Do I really need this? Is it really required? Can I do without this? And many a times, I feel that, oh, I was so impulsive putting so many things in my cart. I don't think I need all that. Right? So, another major reason for stress is impulsivity. Right? Our incapacity to delay our gratification. Abhi chahiye. Lack of patience. Good things take times, my dear friends. Go through that time in an easy manner. And why we are losing on patience is because we want to control everything in our life. We even want to control our future. We want to control tomorrow. That can never happen. Because when we look at time, time is not horizontal. Time is the biggest myth of our existence and pre-existence on the earth. Time is a measure to understand what has already happened and what is yet to come. Most of our life we have wasted either regretting about things that have already happened or feeling sad about things that have already happened or worrying about what is yet to come. आने वाला कल जाने वाला है, हो सके तो इसमें जिंदगी लुटा दो, पल जो ये जाने वाला है. It's this moment that matters. We can only, or we will experience future when future becomes present. Why are we beating ourselves up for a future which is yet to come? It is going to come. आगे भी जाने ना दूं, पीछे भी जाने ना दूं, जो भी है बस एक यही पल है. Make the most of it. Create the best out of this moment. Invest yourself in this moment mindfully and see what this moment can bring for you. Right? So, people who feel very stressful, I'll give you a very simple tip which is called control the controllables. There are a lot of things in our life which we can control, and there are a lot of things which we cannot control. The moment you take your focus away from the things you cannot control to the things that are manageable, that you can regulate, that falls within your caliber and capacity, you feel empowered. And when you feel empowered, when you feel strong, obviously you cannot feel anxious and relaxed at the same time. Okay, let's do this simple exercise. If you have your pens and papers handy, let's do this simple exercise. Please divide the paper into two halves. On one side of the paper, write down things that are under your control. And on the other half of the paper, write down things that are not under your control. Right? Say what time you get up in the morning is under your control. Right? Who are the people you actually form connections with is under your control, and who are the people you distant yourself from because they have very high nuisance value, it is under your control. How you utilize the resources that you have is under your control. How you behave with people around you, how to respond to the situations that are around you, it is all under your control. But how people react, that's not under your control. Right? How life unfolds, that is not under your control. And most of the time, stress is caused because we are trying to control others. उसने क्या बोला, उसने मेरे से कैसे बोला, है ना, या ऐसा कैसे हो गया, मेरे आज 2 क्लासेस एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस मुझे दे दी, मुझे ज्यादा काम दे दिया. That's not under your control. Either you be assertive enough to confront it, or else you become very carefree enough to do it. Isn't it? How do we tackle work-related stress? Let's come to that. See, there are a lot of things, as I said, are not under our control. So the best way to tackle them is accept them. See, do we have a choice? Like, can we just stop working, all of us? Can we stop coming to colleges, all of us? We can't do that. Right? We don't have that choice. let's suppose, or we are choosing to come to work because that is giving us financial independence, isn't it? That keeps our kitchen fire working. So, things that we cannot change, how do we ensure they do not cause us stress? Is by accepting those things gracefully. Gurbani made there's a beautiful word, it's called Pana. Pana means the event, it means the will of God. Right? So, things that cannot be controlled, if we accept them gracefully, if we learn and practice to accept it gracefully rather than cribbing and crying and complaining, because I wish by cribbing and crying and complaining, the intensity of the problem reduce. Does it? It does not. Rather, it becomes more of a burden. One, the issue. Two, your reactions to that issue. We must learn to make a paradigm shift from reactiveness to responsiveness. When we react to certain things, the power lies in the stimulus outside us. When we respond, the power lies within us, and we make a choice about how do I choose to respond to the given phenomena. If I misbehave with you, when you misbehave back with me, that's a reaction. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But when I misbehave with you and you choose to ignore me, poor thing, she's always troubled. That's the only way she knows how to talk. She's sick. Isn't it? If I'm causing you trouble, don't you think I'm mentally sick? So you must know how to reduce that burden and pressure that is being caused by other people in your life by changing the meaning you're attaching to that specific event. There's a very beautiful short story about how can you not feel stressed because of other people's behavior. So there was this taxi driver who was going to the airport. He was wanting to drop a passenger to the airport. He was going to drop him to the airport, and they were having very congenial conversations. The music was on. It was a good, bright day, and this chap was actually driving at a good speed, and they were having good time together. Suddenly, another driver came from behind, started honking, overtook this initial person that I was talking to you about. And when he overtook, he was hurling abuses on them. He was being very rude to him. He was really nasty and very, very rude and impolite, discourteous. Right? And this chap, after yelling and abusing, he just crossed the car and went. This person, this driver of the car, he rolled his glasses back, his car glass back, switched on the music again, took a deep breath, and resumed his conversation. Now, the passengers were quite surprised. He says, look at this man, how he behaved with you. He was so rude early morning. He spoiled your mood, but look at you. It did not have any impact on you. The driver smiled. He said, sir, there are certain people in our life who are like dump trucks. They are like garbage trucks. They dump all the garbage onto us, right? Now it is my choice whether I want to remain with that garbage or deal with that garbage or let go of that garbage because it's not mine. I'm not going to own that garbage. Right? So there are people in your life who are very unreasonable, rude, discourteous, vehement, aggressive, verbally. How do you deal with them? Just by attaching this meaning to them. They are sick. They are unwell. This is what they have in them. Now let's suppose there's a glass of water in my hand and somebody pushes me. right? What will actually fall out from the glass? Water. Because there's water in the glass. Let's suppose this is a glass of juice. Somebody pushes or I get nudged, right? It's juice that's going to spill. Let's suppose now I'm holding a cup of coffee in my hand. Same thing happens. And this time it is coffee. So please understand, when life gives you a push, what comes out is actually what is inside you. So people who have anger and venom and toxicity inside them, that's the only thing that is going to come out. People who are polite, no matter how life treats them, they are so at peace with themselves that they remain courteous. They remain their own calm, peaceful selves, no matter how life is treating them. Right? Have you heard of angry Buddha ever in your life? No, because that isn't a constituent of Buddha's existence. Right? So, honestly speaking, we are Buddhu because we feel so stressed. Because in the beautiful large design of life, things come, things go. Every storm runs out of its rain, right? Nothing remains forever. Everything passes on. But the problem is we exaggerate it so much in our heads and we obsess so much with everyday trivial stuff that we make it so astronomical. How practical is this that we have react response? How practical is it that we have react response support nowadays when no one wants to compromise? Uh, if we think like that, no one wants to compromise, so I will also not compromise, then the world will remain the way it is. Right? There are always agents of change, elements of change. You can be the pioneer in this moment amongst people around you, right? Just because somebody is rude, so I react and become rude with that person, right? Rudity grows exponentially. Somebody is rude, I either choose to ignore that person, or I distant myself from that person, or I change the meaning of I attach to this rude person. That's who he is. That's what he is carrying. So I am not going to leave my dignity. I'm not going to leave my courtesy because that's where I come from. That's who I am. Like Maniksa was just talking about universal human values, right? So, again, I mean, I'm nobody to preach. I'm a practitioner. So, Gravardhan sir, you have a choice. The choice is, uh, one spoiled orange, all other fruits getting spoiled, or that's a reaction. Just because he did it, so I'm also going to be tooth for tooth, eye for eye, right? Or the other way is, he is who he is. I am who I am. He can choose to be himself. I choose to be myself. Life offers us a choice, sir, right? And we have the option. I mean, nothing is stopping you from being rude, but consequences. It will have consequences. Nothing is either stopping you from being your own polite, courteous self. Even it has consequences, right? So we have the freedom to make decisions, but we do not have the freedom about the consequences of the decisions. Decisions are in our hands, consequences are not. So, how we react or respond is a matter of choice, but what would happen after that is not a matter of choice. So, I feel let's execute mature choices wherever it is possible to do that. I'll share one more story. Once Buddha with his monks was traveling across some places in India. They all halted at a village where people revered Buddha, they respected the ideology, non-violence, equanimity, right? So they were thrilled to have Buddha and his monks. They were brilliant hosts. They offered them best of food and sweets and everything, and they were extremely respectful towards them. Buddha, being Buddha, folded his hands and said, "Thank you so much for your treatment. Please distribute everything amongst yourselves." Right? The monks got very upset because after so many days, they actually saw good food and other things, but their leader's decision was not to consume it. Then they moved on and then they went to another village. And that village had a very anti Buddhist sentiment. So when Buddha and his monks landed there, they were received with a lot of disrespect, and even people abused them, and they used all sorts of whatever labels for them. The monks got very angry, they got very annoyed. Buddha, again being his equanimous self, folded his hand and said, "I don't need it. Please distribute it amongst yourselves." So, how people behave is not going to be in our control. And that's actually not even our business. How we respond, in fact, our capacity to respond is called as responsibility. Our ability to respond is called as responsibility. And how is a response different from a reaction is that when we are reacting, the remote control is in someone else's hands. But when we are responding, all powers lie within, and it is a choice. Whether you want to cry or you want to have a one-on-one adult-like discussion, or you want to retaliate, is a choice, right? So my question to all of you, where or whom do you want your remote control to be with? You want it to be with yourself, or you want it to be somebody else? And if you want it to be with yourself, today is the day when you can start with reclaiming your power. Thank you. Thank you, Amritesh ji. You want it to be with yourself, right? So reclaim your power. Now, just listen to what I'm going to share with you very carefully and start applying this rule. It's a very, very powerful technique to learn how to respond. Let's suppose somebody criticizes you or is rude with you, right? You can't control that. If I have a sharp tongue, if I have anger issues, right? I'm going to actually be rude with everybody, isn't it? So let's suppose I am that person who is repeatedly, disrespectful to you. Correct? Now, when I spit this venom on you, the question that you need to ask yourself is it about me? Right? If I have criticized you, let's suppose, you got to ask yourself a simple question: is it about me? If the answer to this question is yes, she's right. I am procrastinating things, I am reaching late, and I am delaying things a lot. And because of me, the work of my whole department is getting suffered. I need to do something about it. I can do it myself on my own. Great. If no, I'm going to seek help. Right? And the other question, and the other answer to this question is no, it's not about me. I'm giving my best and I'm doing my best. And the problem is with the perspective of the other person. Please leave it there. Don't own up the misbehavior of the other person. It's about them and not about you. And mind you, the person who is rude, the person who is discourteous, he is rude, annoyed, discourteous with everybody around them. It's that cup of anger he is holding, and every time life pushes this person, it's anger that spills out. Don't take it personally. When you don't take other people's behavior personally, many of your life stressors are gone. And I know this rude, discourteous person can be your own spouse with whom you have to deal with day in and day out. The thing is, the person who is perpetually angry, let me tell you, he's carrying lot of past hurts. There has been lot of absence or devoidation. He's devoid of love and care. That is why this person has become so harsh, and because he never got love, he doesn't know how to give love. Please don't take it personally. Don't cause so much stress within your body. Don't allow so many toxins and other harmful chemicals to get secreted within your body just because somebody else does not know how to talk. Right? Stop paying the price for being a sensitive person. You got to work on your sensitivity. The buck stops at you. Charity begins from home. See, I started this session. The first line that I said was, uh, it's all about self-management. We cannot, change the circumstances outside us. So many times we cannot even change the people around us, your colleagues, spouse, bosses, subordinates. No, you have to be diplomatic enough. You got to learn people management skills to deal with them better so that at least they are not the cause for stress in our lives. Isn't it? And please, on this call, I also want to tell all of you, if you are a cause for stress in someone's life, today is the day that you actually promise yourself to behave yourself. Right? Because karma comes back. What we sow, it comes back. And it comes back. See, nature returns everything. It reflects everything back to all of us. Now, please think about it. What is it that you want to come back to you? When you are a cause of comfort, when you are a cause of sukoon to someone's life, sukoon will come back to you. When you are offer support, support will come back to you. Isn't it? When you are making someone's life easy, comfortable, ease and comfort is going to come back to you. And the reverse is also true. When you deliberately poke people, when you unnecessarily create problems in others' lives, right? When you can't manage your own anger and your own anxieties and you spill it all over or around, people, be rest assured that's what is going to come back to you. Right? So a farmer is very choosy in what seeds he or she is sowing because they know that's what is going to get cultivated. So become mindful in your lives, mindful of your thoughts, mindful of your words, and mindful of your actions. Because when you're thinking healthy, good chemicals secrete in your body. You feel effective emotions. But when you're thinking all nonsense, all sort of negative stuff, exactly, all harmful chemicals, toxins will get secreted, hence diseases. Isn't it? Now, how can we think better? We think better when we become our own thought auditor. When we keep checking ourselves, like I can see 5, 6 people on my screen, and Hina's name is the easiest. So Hina got to ask Hina, what are you thinking? Hina, what's on your mind? Facebook also asks you what is on your mind. So you also need to check constantly what's on your mind, and you got to, work on the thoughts that are not nourishing. बूंद बूंद से घड़ा भरता है और एक नेगेटिव थॉट ऐसा भर देता है. It fills up our brain with all crap and all kind of garbage. Right? So we must learn how to audit our thoughts. Ask yourself, what are you thinking? And then ask yourself, is it nourishing? Is it supportive? How is it helping you to think in this manner? And what is it that you can replace your thoughts with? So learn to swish the unhealthy thoughts with the healthier thoughts. सोच ही तो है, बुरा भी तो सोच ही रहे हैं ना, वो भी अपने लिए, फ्यूचर के लिए, बच्चों के लिए भी. So scared. Look at the energy you are creating, right? So your words are so powerful, your thoughts are so powerful, they are like real prayers. And the universe only has one sound, and that sound is Tathastu. Whatever you're thinking, you're radiating energy, and the same energy is going to come back to you. So don't be surprised if your life is miserable, if you're thinking miserable thoughts, because that's what you're asking for. And don't be surprised if your life is magical, because your thoughts are very high vibrating energy thoughts. Again, buck stops at you. You have to determine the quality of your thoughts. You got to determine the quality of your words. क्या हो जाएगा किसी को गाली देने से, किसी को इतना रूड बोलने से? कितना फ्रस्ट्रेशन है हमारे अंदर, isn't it? और क्या हो जाएगा किसी को अप्रिशिएट करने से, किसी को एक पैट देने से? You know the difference, right? So please make life easy for yourself, make life easy for other people around you. And if there are people who somehow have mastered this art of making life difficult for others, make them insignificant in their lives. वो आपके घर में राशन नहीं डलवा रहे हैं. How can you allow someone else to control the quality of the life that you are living? Isn't it? So become the driver. Take the driver's seat in your life. Become the CEO of your own lives. Start taking very mindful decisions, at least in terms of the thoughts you think, the words you speak, and the actions you perform. And I promise you, nature will start weeding out those unwanted elements from your life, because your energy and their energy is a huge mismatch. Either you will pull those people in your calm, or you will very respectfully part ways from each other. They are not required anymore in your life. There is a huge difference between the plane of consciousness that you operate on and the plane of consciousness that they operate on. Right? So in a nutshell, you can determine the quality of your life, one, by investing in people who would support you. Now, how do you invest in those people? Become a support yourself. Gandhiji said, become the change yourself for bringing out the change that you want in your surroundings. When you would help someone, reciprocity, they will help you. When you render support to someone, the same thing is going to come back, because what goes around comes around. So please do not undermine the power of social support. Second important thing, don't compare yourself with others. You have no idea about their struggles. Maybe they're driving a bigger car, but maybe they are also fighting very silent battles. Right? So stop comparisons. And if you really want to compare it with someone who does not even have as much as you have. Count your blessings. Life is so beautiful. It's such a wonderful opportunities, creating so many possibilities for us. So future is a space where possibilities are, not anxieties, not challenges are. Right? So start creating possibilities in your future. Get excited about your future rather than being anxious about your future. Become mindful of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And choose to do what is right, or what is righteous, and what is virtuous. And that's what will come back to you. right? And understand the relationship between need, want, and greed. The more we will accumulate what we need, and we learn to let go of our wants and greed and adopt a more minimalistic and a simple way of life, and keep working upon our personal development, keep investing in our personal growth, right? We will start vibrating on such a higher frequency that no matter how moneyed people are around us, or no matter how rude they are, we actually become inaccessible to them. We wear that duck bag where all these situations and circumstances, it's like wearing a bulletproof jacket, right? So no matter how chaotic things are or life is outside us, it doesn't bother us much because we are fully equipped to deal with it cognitively, emotionally, and socially. So these were certain tools that I wanted to share with you, with an assurance that if you decide to work upon yourself, things that appear to be so big and catastrophic, suddenly you will puncture them and they'll become so manageable, so within your capacity to deal with them. On that thought, thank you very much.